Hello, hello. I believe I am live. Hi, hey, how's it going? I was just trying to test this to get it set up so that it worked, but I think it might be working. This is a sneaky stream. That's right. Nobody really knows about it because I haven't been. Hey, alright, yeah, we are good. So, hello, hello. Andrew here. And I'm back. Alright. Hey, hello, welcome. I am Andrew. This is Cat Skull Gaming, and this is the weekly Dev Diary live edition. That's right, we are doing this live. Why are we doing it live? Well, we're doing it live because I am tired of spending time in pre and post production on YouTube videos. YouTube isn't currently providing any benefit for the studio. It's providing benefit to me personally to make these videos, and so I'm trying to reduce the amount of time I'm spending on it so I can focus more on the game itself. So, with that being said, I'm going to start doing them live because then I can just go over the week. I get the nice recap for myself. I feel good about putting out a diary, and I didn't spend 4 to 6 hours on something that I feel good about, but the studio doesn't get any benefit. And I'm trying to shift my viewpoints about Cat Skull Gaming as my handle as a video game developer and as a studio with other people attached to it, and to make decisions that will benefit us and not just me. So, hello, welcome to Cat Skull Gaming. I'm Andrew. This is the weekly Dev Diary in our new format, the live format, and we're going to be going over what we have done in the game this week. We are still working on our dice game, and as you can see here, I've been working on a grab dice script. So we can go ahead and kick up the project. And right now, like I said, everything is pre-production, so all this stuff is placeholder. We are still developing what the game will be. We know what the game is going to be. We've designed around ideas and we've planned it out as best as we can, but none of us are game developers. None of us have experience in doing this. Most of us don't even have experience in programming. So the level to which we can make something do something or make something look a certain way is an unknown quality and quantity at this point. And so every idea we have, every system we want to implement, every design we want to put into the game, we don't know, one, what it looks like when we can do it. Well, that's really the only ones. We don't know what it will look like when we do it. We don't know how it will feel when we do it. And so everything still kind of has to be proven out. So we don't have a plethora of previous projects to look at and be like, hey, we did, this kind of system here. We can just grab that and tweak it a little bit. Everything is from the ground up. And so we get this, some placeholders just to kind of get the idea of what we want to do and what it will look like, or can we get it to a point where we think we can tweak it to make it feel and look good? And so far, the answer is yeah. I feel good about our dice rolling mechanic. This has been what I've been working on, is just getting it so you can pick up the dice. The collision is garbage, but you can grab them. You can grab a single dice slowly, also garbage, but you can do it. And it gives us a good idea of what we want our dice mechanic to kind of look and feel like in the game. I've seen a lot of games lately with Latro-like, Yahtzee-like styles where you're adding malts and different variables to the pips or the faces to do things, but every single one of those dice games has been a 2D static dice. It is a picture of pips that you click on, and I think that defeats one of the major draws of a dice game, which is the dice. You might as well just do cards if you're just going to have a static item that you click. You're selling the intellectual idea of a dice game, but you aren't actually giving it to them. You're just saying, I have skinned cards as dice, which, cool. I mean, it works, but I think it's a missed opportunity, and it's a missed opportunity that I'm hoping we can capitalize on to really help our game kind of stand apart and be something a little bit more unique than what everybody else is offering. So the dice mechanic, 3D dice, we've got to work on the collision. Still, it's going to need a lot of work to get to a good working state, but I feel much better about this as a opener to kind of put forward the ideas that we have as proofs of concept to the team so that they can see when I talk about rolling dice, this is what I'm talking about. When I talk about having a UI element and dice elements, these are kind of how I'm imagining them positioned. And I think that's going to be really important for us so that we're all on the same page and we're building the same game. One of the things I'm really worried about is that we're going to get halfway through or start putting things together, and Dayton will be programming something, I'll be drawing something, and Jim will be making some music for something, but they'll all be for something slightly different. And when we try to bring them together, it will create friction and more work for us to have to do to try to then solve all these disparate little things. So we all thought we were doing something slightly different. And so doing this, I feel, is going to be a huge benefit, not just for the team, but also for me, because it makes me feel better about my own abilities to produce the quality and level of gameplay that I want in the game. So other things like just adding a zoom. How do I add a zoom? Can I add a zoom? And then adding, like, I haven't done it yet, but I need to add pan, so you can mouse click and scroll and then pan left and right if there's still space to pan if you're zoomed in. These are just, if you have zoom on a mouse wheel, you should have pan on the mouse wheel too. It's something that is intuitively part of that control scheme that I tried to do just now, and I know I didn't program it into the game. I can't imagine that a player would try to do that and they would intuitively think I should just be able to do this. And I want to remove that friction of, like, why can't I do this thing that other people can? Hopefully it's not hard. But that's game development, and that's where I am at with the game this week. I thought that getting the dice, that doing this was going to be 15 minutes in and out, no problem. I'd had practice during the marble maze, working with 3D objects, grabbing them, moving them about, having them follow a mouse. I'm like, I know how to do this. This is easy. No problem. Well, 3 days. I started Sunday. On Wednesday, you could finally grab dice, and it took that long. Every time I read the documentation on setting up the raycast, so if you go into the documentation, all of this stuff is just pretty much straight from the documentation. And then this stuff is just so it does what I want. But it's pretty much everything is from the documentation. And then I just added onto it some torque, working with the physics bodies to grab stuff. And then this code is just doubled up for right button and left button, because it was the easiest way to just copy paste and change the input button so that it was a single dice or multiple dice. But yeah, 3-4 days, and I was like, I'll just be able to do this in like 15 minutes real quick, and then I'll move on to the next thing. That did not work. But that's my experience with game development. The things I think I'll just be able to knock out real quick, 3 or 4 days worth of work. The thing that I'm like, this is going to be 3 or 4 days worth of work, I somehow solve in like a day. So, c'est la vie. Oh, one last thing that I do want to point out in my code that I'm super, super happy with is, where did I do it? Damping force. Yeah, if grab dice and input, this little for loop I wrote. So I ran into this issue where when you use get tree, get nodes, and group, which I was using to get all of the dice, they're all in the same group. I'm like, perfect. I can just do that, and I'll have them position whatever, no problem. But the syntax for that wouldn't work, because when you grab get nodes in group, it's in array. They're just all in array. So then you have to access the nodes in that array to get them to move to the right position. And I wrote a for loop. I just sat down. I'm like, well, it's 4 nodes in dice, and dice is the array. So for the nodes in dice, if the nodes are rigid bodies, then I'll change their position. It didn't look quite like that when I first wrote it. I did have to look up lerping and figure out the position, but I didn't one shot it, but I wrote a for loop on my own without being prompted to, because I knew that was the solution to an issue. That felt really good. I felt like, hey, here's growth as a programmer. Here's growth in this program and in this way of thinking so that I can look at a problem and I have ways to solve that problem. I don't have to go to Google or Stack Overflow or the forums or the documentation to see what can it do, how do I solve this. I can be like, oh, you solve it like this, how do I do that? So that's real growth for me, from where I was almost a year ago as someone who didn't know how to do Godot at all. It feels really good. And so I just wanted to point that out and kind of give myself my own flowers and be happy with my progress. So that is it for this week's Dev Diary. That's what we've been working on. Sunday, I'm super excited. We're going to be doing the second part of our Quiet Year project. We did the last one on Saturday last week, right after last week's Dev Diary, actually, and it was amazing. Using emergent gameplay and storytelling as a way to build a history for a world that we can then set things in. Already, just with our brief interaction with it, we've already learned more about the world than we could have, developed on our own, because we're answering questions we don't know to ask. And it's setting tone and feeling for what has come before, so that when we look to the future and develop what is that narrative, how does that feel, what should these things look like, we can look at that history and just pull concepts and ideas to keep consistency throughout that visual and development. So that's been absolutely great, and I am so excited to play some more Quiet Year with those guys. And honestly, I like games. I like tabletop games. If we're done with the Quiet Year and we keep like a monthly one shot going, I would be pumped about that, because it's fun to play games with people, and playing games with the people we work with is it's fun. It's a good time. But that is going on Saturday, and so hopefully we'll start to get those edited and out as a nice way to just kind of share our gameplay with people and our world building and what we're thinking, and kind of help contextualize as we move forward some of the stuff that we'll start to see show up in the game. But once again, that's it for me. I know I said that like 5 minutes ago, but that's it. That's the Dev Diary. Thank you for checking it out. I am Andrew. This is Cat Skull Gaming, and hopefully you're still you. Bye. All right, is this thing still going? I think it is. All right, so now